Good evening, everyone. You're live with Barre Beat here on Main Street, Barre, Vermont. With us tonight, we have Miss Shellie Stevens. Welcome, Shellie. And of course, Raylene.
Hi.
Welcome, Shellie, to the program. We're glad that you're here and super excited to be able to sit down with you and have a conversation and find out who you are.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm thankful that you can come on. Not everybody dares to run into the Barre Beat. Sometimes it can be scary.
I don't get it. We're nice.
Very nice.
Sometimes.
Very nice.
Occasionally I can be a jerk. I can be a jerk occasionally, especially when, I'm unhappy.
Well. Yeah.
So, tell me a little bit about yourself. Why you decided to run for school board, and just a quick
little backstory.
Yeah, backstory. And for those that are listening, pop your questions in there, and I'll try to ask Shellie the questions.
All right. The general information is I have lived in Barre City for 24 years. I have raised 6 children, have all gone through the school system. I've been on a school board previously and enjoyed it. It was a really nice experience and pretty productive. I've had some kids struggle through the system, and I'm at a point in my life where I actually have time where I can commit and hopefully make some changes that will allow my last child going through the system to see some of the benefits of my efforts. 24 years, I've watched a lot of transition happen. I used to be very active in the schools every day, all through one of my kids' kindergarten. I was there every day. And then as the years went by, parents got pushed out a little bit more and more. We weren't as welcome to be classroom helpers. So it became harder for me to even know where my kids were at in their education. So I think now is just really the right time. I've been patient. I've watched the school board meetings, and I'm just so frustrated with where we're at. And then, also as a taxpayer, a homeowner, very frustrated with where we're at and where we're headed in that direction as far as our taxes go as well.
So you did mention your, having time, and you currently work at Mayo.
Yes, I am gainfully employed. I am the nursing home administrator at Mayo in Northfield. Excuse me, I'm going to clear my throat. Excuse me. It's a wonderful long-term care facility, residential care center. We are nonprofit, so I do have to manage the budget on my own. I answer to a board and have successfully managed to get us out of the hole and where we're headed in the right direction for an actual profit at the end of the year. And that is huge. COVID took a huge toll on long-term care facilities and Mayo as well. And we, too, were beholden to federal and state funds for COVID, the crisis, and that all ended. So we really had to look at what they were funding and how we could make an adjustment that didn't diminish the quality of care, but made us so that we didn't have to close the doors. So I hope to transition that over into the school board setting. Those monies are gone from there too. We really have to look at the buckets of, what's in it, and really make, I don't want to say tough decisions, but smart decisions. We have to. We can't just keep going status quo. The money was there for the last 3 years, so we want to keep it there and not lose it, not get rid of it. Some adjustments have to be made. And I'm not saying cuts. I think everybody's so fearful, especially the teachers, because I'm their advocate. I hear what they're saying. They're scared. They're leaving. They're not being heard. Mm-hmm. And where are all these funds going? So we really need to look at where we're putting the money and is it appropriate. And the more and more I go through this, the more and more I'm hearing from from folks who work in the schools, from voters, that, this really is the right decision for me to run for school board. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were thinking about running previously because you had applied for the vacant position that was filled by Sarah Pragent, who was a previous board member. Because a lot of the questions that we get is what happened, where you were, because we had the interviews, and I'll let you answer to that.
Yeah, I keep answering it. So I did apply, I threw it out there, and I didn't get any communication back, really, and all of a sudden just kind of come to this meeting, and it happened to be, working in a long-term care facility. We are constantly riddled with either COVID, RSV, flu, whatever. And at that time, I unfortunately did succumb to it and was down for the count. It was the first day I'd missed work and had no recollection that there was supposed to be a meeting. So it was my fault, and I just figured, oh, well, it wasn't meant to be. And then, another opportunity presented itself, and I said, okay, it was meant to be.
Yeah, here I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm for one super happy that you came back. I think that the community, the school community, everyone could really benefit by you sitting on the board for sure. And I really hope that that's what's happening. I really do. I can't understand why it wouldn't really, because
You never know.
it's just a very smart choice.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes on outside of that window. It's very difficult for me to pay attention to what's happening.
I know, and
in
I'm so
here.
used to it. I just totally ignore it.
Yeah, she ignores. I cannot. I'm like, ooh, what's going on there? Oh,
Well, and it worked out this morning. So I want to tell that really quick, even though it has nothing to do with this. So I was giving you hell because you were window gawking, and we were trying to do a show. And so you let me know that there was an elderly lady that was walking up and down Main Street in her bathrobe and slippers. And I said, maybe we should call for help. So one of our viewers called for help. And then I heard from somebody else listening on the scanner that she had, in fact, wandered away from home. And the police were with her just up the road. And when they were going to put her in the car and help her, her husband came.
Oh.
And so thanks.
Window gawking is good.
Thanks for window gawking this morning, because
That's awesome.
you saved that little lady from the cold this morning, because it was cold.
It was very chilly. It was
Yes.
very chilly. So back to your experience. One of the things that really sets you apart from your opponent is that you have children. I don't believe that your opponent has children. I might be wrong.
I don't believe so.
I don't
either.
believe so.
I don't
So explain to me how does that give you experience to be on the school board?
Yes, and you're all welcome to go to my Facebook. It is open. There are 6 of them. Photos, very proud of them. And again, in 2000, when we moved here, we started going through Barre City. The school was only 4 years old at the time, and it was a beautiful new school. Absolutely loved it. Had wonderful experiences from kindergarten on. Had very few struggles. Teachers were wonderful, and of course, being very engaged. And I am a huge advocate for my kids, and I'm also an advocate for the teachers. We did get to a point where, without having classroom helpers, 1 teacher, 26 kids, no additional assistants in there, that they really were struggling. And then behavior started getting out of control. And I think Room 100 was developed. And if anybody knows about Room 100, most of our kids have been there a few times. But it just became apparent to me that I'm no longer able to go in and participate. You got to have background checks and fingerprinting and all this stuff, which, I mean, is fine. I have to for work. But it just wasn't as inclusive. Like, even to go on a field trip anymore, And
Right.
then field trips were cut. Everything was kind of cut for a while. I don't know. It saddens me. It really does that, my older kids received a phenomenal education. They really did. And then now it's kind of like, my kids kind of just being pushed through. Their test scores come home. They're not even remotely adequate, in my opinion, compared to the other kids that I had seen, mine. And to just be told when I took them to the school that, oh, no, she's good. She's reading where she should be and stuff. And she's not, really not. And I just heard a story the other day of a child who in high school was just now diagnosed with dyslexia. How the hell does a kid get in high school? And and this is a real life story from, somebody living it. It's blowing me away right now. And for anybody to think that where we're at with our schools, that we're doing okay right now, is really, really being misguided.
So,
but I want to tell you guys something too. Raylene and I go way back, but I don't think I've ever shared this with you. I never graduated high school. I was a teen mom. I was the epitome of everything that I try to. I also was a pediatric nurse, so I definitely dealt with some young youths in this area, and did a lot of counseling when their lives seemed to be going down what they thought was going to be a really horrible path, and steering them that you can still pull yourself up out of this. You can still go where you need to go. School, education, don't quit. I never quit. I ended up getting my GED. I've gone back. I went to nursing school. I got my LPN, my RN, my BSN, my MSN. I didn't stop, and my kids have seen me struggle sitting at that desk. My education
while
was
being a mom,
the
and
most important
working.
thing.
And-
Yes. So I have instilled that in them. They don't have to go off and get their master's degree, but they will be decent human beings and be gainfully employed and do what makes them happy, and good, productive citizens. And I feel like we really need to instill those values in our youth today around here. Because these guys are the ones that are going to be running the things, running our communities, running our stores, our businesses, and we want them to be productive.
For sure.
yeah. And it's interesting you mentioned they're going to be, running things shortly. It's kind of scary, quite frankly, in some cases. One of the things that I've been talking about recently is the cognitive delay due to screen time. There's been multiple studies out there that say children are becoming cognitively delayed due to how much time and usage of equipment that's computer based. What are your thoughts because I'm sure you probably struggled with that as a mother, and what's your thoughts about the school having like computers and phones running all day long? What are your thoughts there? And it's one of those like off.
It's like I gotta watch my mouth. I'm on live.
It's definitely
Yeah.
an off the cuff question.
Yeah.
But it gives insight into what your thought process is, if you haven't had the opportunity to.
Right. So hopefully my child's not watching. So obviously, 2 years basically being homeschooled through COVID, I don't think she got out of bed very often. Because I still had to go to work. I'm a healthcare worker. I got to go, but she's just, at home, got to log in every now and then on the computer. So I definitely think she lost 2 years of education there, hands down, no questions asked. Back when I would go participate in the schools, Barre City, nobody was allowed to have cell phones on. And I remember one of my kids, he's like 28 now, he's coming out headed to the bus, and he picks up the phone to call me and say, I'm going to walk home instead of taking the bus. And, school's out. He got his phone taken away. and Mom had to go get it the next day because there were rules, and he
Right.
broke the rule.
Mm-hmm.
And now, I mean,
Yeah,
they're
use them
living
all
on their
day.
phones. It's
And they call for DoorDash. That's
Yeah.
what blows my mind.
I heard about that.
They literally call for Dunkin' Donuts. Bring me a
Yeah.
frozen coffee. I cannot fathom that when I was in school.
We live in a world of privilege for sure.
yes, yes.
Yeah. So Barre City obviously has some significant socioeconomic issues. Based on what you said, it sounds like you may have had some socioeconomic issues when you were a kid as well.
Absolutely
you
not.
didn't. Oh, you didn't. Oh, okay.
Nope.
Well,
I had a
you
very
said you
strict
didn't finish-
military father.
Okay, never
My
mind.
mother was gainfully employed. I had a great home life.
Okay.
My parents chose to get a divorce right at a pivotal
Oh, at a
moment,
okay.
and I was the perfect child, 100% the perfect child. My brother was the delinquent, but I rebelled at that particular moment, and made an unwise decision.
But that helped you to grow, and that's it. A lot of our kids in our school system are struggling with some difficult decisions as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't. Your experience, it sounds like you'll be able to empathize with some of our children.
I have a ton of experience. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I guess.
No, and I'm not judgmental. I mean, I know what it was like to have to, kind of take that step and come forward and tell people I was pregnant. I had a teacher who I admired. I was in honors all classes, and I admired this lady. And when she found out I was pregnant, she looked me in the eye and said, "You've just ruined your life." And those words have stuck with me for the rest of my adult life here.
Mm-hmm.
And I was determined that she wasn't going to be right.
Mm-hmm.
And I did look her up on Facebook a couple of years back and sent her a message thanking her profusely for her words. It might have been a passive-aggressive thing, but
It
she
motivated
did
you
not
to do
reply.
right.
She
No.
didn't reply.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well.
That's kind of a jerk move. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well.
interesting. Yeah. Linda says teachers need to be paid on a performance, not on a step scale based on years. I sat in a school board for 8 years. I saw teachers who gave more than 100% and some who did not, just even enough to get by. Yeah, I mean, there is truth to that.
I think we were just talking about this the other day. 100%. Everybody needs to be judged, graded, and paid on performance. In one of my previous nursing homes, there was a union there, and everybody got the same, just like the teachers. You're just getting the across-the-board raise. And they were so frustrated because you got some folks just busting their backs, and they got the same 3% that the person who literally sat back and did nothing. And a lot of hard work, dedication, and good leadership. The union was voted out of that facility. So we got back to performance. And I'm pretty generous when I give performance-based raises. You can ask my employees. It's how we keep them happy. So I agree 100% in the school district. And even, you can't get rid of a union, and I'm not asking anybody to, but a performance evaluation still needs to be done. And if you're not performing, some other steps need to happen.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's an interesting. I don't know if the school district does performance evaluations. I feel like most government agencies don't.
Well, I think we were talking about that. The one employee who keeps getting these astronomical raises, and it's not based on performance or anything. So, your mind tends to wander and wonder what is this person doing to get these raises? Yeah.
So I think I know which one you're talking about. I will say that the reasoning for the raise based on conversations was to bring the person up to the local standard. I think one of the problems that we have with like education in general, and in situations where, you know, you ask for something to get it, right? And whereas most organizations, they have to make the money, we just, you know, municipalities and schools and state and federal, we just take the money. we set a budget based on what we want, and then try to get the money for that, versus setting a budget based on what we can live without, or, you know, whatever it is.
You do it backwards.
We do, yeah. All government agencies do that, quite frankly. It's not.
I'm just thinking, if that
Berry
person was
City.
that severely underpaid, why would you even apply for that job to begin
And
with?
stay.
Well, and I've heard that comment before, that, you know, if it is underpaid, why would somebody get the job?
I think that
I get
person
that.
needs to
That
come on
makes-
your show and answer some questions.
That would be wonderful.
I think I voted no on that.
I'm
one,
all
but-
for people, you know, looking at what they do, determining their worth, asking for raises when they feel, you know, they deserve it and stuff. It's not that, but that's a huge raise.
Yeah. Understandable. And, you know, it definitely gets to the fact that this particular year we're looking at an 11.6 or 11.9% increase, which that is absorbing the ESSER funds, or the ESSER positions, those positions that were federally paid
Yeah.
by, well, obviously by the federal government. They were paid by the federal government to
But
help
they were supposed to be
bridge,
temporary.
Right.
correct, to bridge that gap with COVID.
Yeah.
What's
But
your
now
what's
the
your thoughts on
emergency's
that?
over. We face the exact same situation over in healthcare, and you have to make adjustments. And it is possible. It is.
Okay.
I agree.
One of the things that you had mentioned was, you know, behavioral issues in our school system, and I think a lot of people have some significant concerns with children acting out and having behavioral issues in general.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that issue?
Personal experience. This is where my kid's going to kill me. She does have ADHD, and she was a kindergartner, and her wonderful teacher, Jen Bisson, she knew there were some problems going on, and she shared with me that they were having meetings about my kid, and I was like, what? What meetings? Why am I not included? I'm her mother. I'm her biggest advocate. And I forced myself to get invited to this meeting, and we went and sat down in a conference room, and they pulled up a screen, and they had all these wonderful things that they were doing, and Jen said, you know, respectfully, we're told to talk about parents and kids as if they're in the room, so I feel like I need to speak about the kid as if the mother isn't in the room. And she pointed up every one of those things, and she said, we haven't done any of that. We have failed this kid. You know, at first I thought, oh, she's going to get in trouble, but they hadn't done any of that. Fast forward a few weeks, I'm standing here with the school psychologist, calling my child by the wrong name, diagnosing her, and I said, oh, have you met my kid? And she said no. And I said, then I don't care what your diagnosis is. So I had to intervene. You know, I took care of the situation outside of the school, but having appropriate people in the school, behavioral interventionists, the psychologists, all of that is great. But again, we have to hold people accountable. They have to actually do their job. You should meet the kid before you're diagnosing them.
Exactly.
No parent in the world wants to just slam medications on their kid. So the look on your face, what's going on over there?
Well, I know, like,
Yeah.
True story.
I'm I'm actually like extremely concerned that someone would make a diagnosis without even seeing someone. That's something that political pundits do, and people like, I won't say, like political people do, like saying they have mental concerns, whatever. That's the kind of stuff that would happen, not for regular folks. I mean,
Yeah.
for children.
She's 5
Yeah.
years old. She was 5.
Yeah.
So kind of a key point in her life that she deserves to have an accurate diagnosis.
Yeah,
All kids
absolutely.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is, does that still happen? I wonder. Is there still a school psychologist? Do they still do things through that means and route? Do you know?
I know that we do have psychologists in the budget. That I do know. I don't know if they diagnose, although I think that they may have been doing that for years, because I believe I was diagnosed with that as well, with a bunch of other stuff, I'm sure. But now I'm like curious. But I can't. It's hard to imagine that happening. But then again, if the system, the cogs in the wheels, and parents aren't going in and advocating for their children, that becomes a real difficult situation. How would you, as a school board, get more people involved in their children's education? Because I think that's a huge issue that needs to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
When I was going to school, I went to school in the little neighborhood schools, which you said that you came in about 4 years after BCMS was created. Yeah. With the neighborhood schools, we had parents in the school, in the classrooms, helping out. I mean, Mrs. Putney was, doing crossing guard. I mean, there was a bunch of parents that were in the school system helping out. And I don't know if that happens at all anymore.
It was so much better back then. It really
was.
was.
I wish I could go back in time.
Well,
Like multiple
who
levels.
says that all the time? I always say there are some instances where we have to take 20 steps back in order to move forward, and I think that's what needs to be done here in the city as a whole, but definitely in the school.
And I was free. I didn't cost the school anything.
Right.
And I provided a great service. Mrs. Harvey's class had top-notch parent involvement there. And my 4-year-old got to go with me every day, so he got to go through kindergarten twice. That kid's smarter than all of them. Good job, Willie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you think you can get more parents in?
Right now we're just putting up more and more barriers. I hear we're looking to redesign the front entryway to where you can't get in. Well, Barre City already is, but the school's being locked down and all that good stuff, and you got to have the top secret security clearance to get in, and there's just so many barriers. It's not even easy anymore.
So you would, as a school board member, advocate for getting parents
Parental
in our
environment, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Again, it's free.
Yeah.
And
Free help is good.
We got vested interest in these kids going through the school, and it may sound silly, but when I was doing that, it also made me be a Daisy Girl Scout leader and other things that the kids would benefit from out in the community. Yeah.
Linda Kuchar says it's pretty sad that you have high school staff that can't even explain to you the grading system, and you don't get IEP service unless the child seeks help. So let's talk about the grading system, because
I would
you're about
rather try and explain Act 127 to you than our grading system. Yeah. This is where I'm failing as a parent. I'm trying to be so involved with her every week. What's going on? What assignments are you missing? This, that. Show me on the Infinite campus. She's not explaining it the greatest, but the teacher said this and that. And then I get a 2 weeks late notification that she's behind, not proficient in something because there was a glitch while somebody was on vacation and it didn't get sent out. So now we're 2 weeks behind, and it is the most frustrating thing. I can't explain the grading system, and I'm not stupid, and I can't explain it. If we could get back to a regular grading system, I think my own kid could understand it, and to like goof off all year long but play nice with the teachers, be nice and stuff. You kind of get an okay grade. If you don't do any assignments and act like you're not interested, you get not proficient. I'm like, not proficient? I told one teacher, I said, fail her. If she cannot figure it out and get assignments turned in, fail her.
Yeah, what the heck is not proficient?
Yeah, I can't. I don't know. My kid can't figure it out either.
20 steps back. It's okay if you tell them that they're not doing well.
Yeah.
And I think that we are very much failing our kids and everybody else when we're not willing to. It's okay to say you need to do better. It's okay to say reach for the moon and hope for the stars, and you better buck up and straighten out, or you're going to lose the right to play sports. Or it's okay to do that, and I don't think we do it enough anymore. Too much sitting around the fire Indian style singing Kumbaya. You know how I feel about it.
And last minute ditch efforts. Oh, if you do all these 30 assignments before Tuesday night at midnight, we'll count them. And that's another like real life story there kind of thing.
Right.
You get all this done before graduation, even though it was due here, here, and here. Again, old school education. The assignment's due Friday. If it's not due, you don't get a grade. But we allow it to pile up, but we want the kids to move on and get out of my grade and go on to the next one. It's just passing. Or the teachers have no say or control over it.
Yeah.
They're just as frustrated. They really are.
It's based on what I've heard. A lot of it has to do with no kid left behind.
Yeah, we're not leaving them behind. We're pushing them through.
And it's not having
and that's
the desired
very
effect.
Much leaving them behind, because then they're entering a workforce and real true life, and they're not being successful. I mean, my 31-year-old son, I'm 31 and 33, and my 31-year-old son just barely moved out of the house, and I don't even know how long he'll stay out. And I know a lot of people his age that still live with their parents. They're not even ready to move forward at all. They're very content with the way things are. I can't even fathom that.
Yeah.
So in my mind, we are failing them every day.
Michael makes a comment here. What about a push to get parents involved, like the budget is being pushed? I can't deny that comment, right? Like where people are pushing the budget a lot, and probably a lot of that energy would be better spent actually getting parents in the school system. So that
he's saying divert your energy instead of pushing this. Let's try something a little more productive.
I think that's what he's saying. Michael, if you can clarify that, did I encapsulate what you were saying? Because I feel like that's what you were saying there, which I mean, it's a legitimate gripe. We push past the budget, making it much more expensive in our community, while we have less children and we have more staff, more money going into the system, less children, and more.
Right.
And I think a part of that would be, that parental involvement. I think that would probably make a huge difference. And I know me personally, I think we need a systemic change in our school system in general and how we deal with children. Is it okay to keep a kid in a school that is physically violent to teachers and other children? You know, and as a school board member, that's the kind of stuff that you're gonna, you know, run up against the wall like I have.
I
And
just
bash
keep
your
I
head on
just
the wall
keep
and not get anywhere.
equating things here. We do not keep violent residents in our nursing homes because it puts everybody else at risk. Everybody else has a right to a safe living environment. Every student has a right to learn. And if that other child is so disruptive that nobody's learning, then an alternative needs to be found.
Yeah, and I don't think we're doing that based on my, you know, personal opinions, right? Like it's all, for me, it's all anecdotal and talking to teachers that are just beyond the word frustrated.
Yeah.
You know,
One of my sons was a behavioral interventionist. He was up at Barre City. That's where he worked. You know, so for hearing his stories, I mean, I'd like to think that he did some good, you know, keeping the child on task and whatnot. But when the violence happens, the whole class is disruptive and disrupted and just down. Down. They just lose everything that they were gaining for the day.
yeah. And that's what I've heard is that,
Yeah.
you know, once it, you know, it's like one child ruins everything. And that's, it's tough to say that because it's one child. It's
I know.
one,
It's that one kid that I
mind.
want to hug and take all of the pain that has caused this child to act like that. I want to take it all away. I'm very empathetic, sympathetic, but
You have to
but
think
again,
of everyone
there's
else.
26 other kids in the classroom who
Yeah.
are trying to learn.
There has to be another. I mean, now I'm just riffing with you. I feel like there has to be another way to increase our abilities and how we do our education so that it's more beneficial for our children. I will touch base on the whole go back to the grading thing and 100% agree. Our grading system sucks. You know, having proficiency, not proficient, and whatever
Meet,
else
succeed,
exceeds. You know, A, B, C, D, F. Everybody knows what that is. I've actually thought about pushing through a policy that requires both that grading and the proficiency grading. This way, it goes back to the parent and they see, oh, my kid is getting an F. How about we not put that on the refrigerator? You know, or my kid is getting an A. He's going to get, or she is going to get a $20 bill and it's going on the refrigerator.
Yeah.
How would you feel about something like that?
I personally would rather just convert all the way back over and not have
Unfortunately,
any confusing.
I don't know if we're allowed to do that for state law because the federal state loves to cram down crap on us.
Okay.
You familiar with that as a nursing home
Yeah, regs, what?
administrator?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But all of our regs are backed by evidence-based practice. It's solid. I 100% agree with our surveyors. I don't know about the educational system right now
Yeah.
because I'm not getting any return on investment from what I'm seeing here. And again, I've got 6 of them little boogers to judge this on, and it's just gone downhill. It really has. And it breaks my heart to think, that this kid expresses wanting to become a nurse. Well, I went to nursing school. She's going to have her ass handed to her.
Right. You know how hard
Handed
it
to
is.
her.
Well, so-
Because this education has not and is not preparing her for college.
So the problem, and you make that comment, it would be for you when you were going to school, but now that this trend going down is not just on the local schools and the smaller schools. It goes all the way up to to the top. I mean, you think about. I mean, let's just be honest. The younger people coming in and working for you, we all say it. We're like, huh, you got a college education? Did you?
I know.
Did you really?
Did you now? Yeah.
I think that's one of the problems where you'd have to stem it at our the school level, the smaller level, because their standards are also going down.
Right.
And it's unfortunate. And then indoctrination camps of the colleges. Oh, sorry. Anyway.
I am a big advocate of technical colleges too.
Yep.
I mean, I went to VTC, Technical College, and I'm not saying everybody has to go out there and get that 4-year degree, but just in case anybody's wondering, because the folks at Spalding were not aware of this, that you can become a registered nurse with a 2-year college program at Vermont Technical College, and that they didn't know that at all. They kept steering the kids straight to UVM, expensive 4-year colleges, and I like work smarter, not harder. 2-year degree, same degree. Still became a director of nursing, still did everything I did with a 2-year degree. I chose to go back later because I just chose to, but our own schools don't know what our local colleges offer. So I tried to link that up at one point in time, try to get BTC to come to Spalding to do some. I mean, my child was actually in a full-on argument with the teacher. Teacher kept saying, no, yes, no. Mom, will you please, because phones are allowed in school now, will you please correct this teacher? So I did, and, he apologized, but, that's kind of where are we steering our kids?
Right. Yeah, and I'm personally anti-college in general. I think that they're good for STEM stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that people go to college for, like underwater basket weaving, that gets you, $80,000 in debt and a barista job.
Yeah.
Right. And then you complain about your debt that you have, and we get it written off by our
one of my
people
kids
that are actually
has a bachelor's degree from Linden in music business industry, and I'm like, nice. Are you going to Nashville? What are you doing?
Right.
Because Vermont does not
right. Where are you
have
going?
much for that degree. So he's living his best life now, becoming a master brewer down in Texas, having fun.
There you go.
Master brewer.
But you know what? All the other classes that are involved in a degree, business classes, accounting, stuff like that, it is useful.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
some of the degree titles don't really get you anywhere.
No. You know what they get you? They
In debt.
Unfortunately get you more money than what I make as
Yeah,
in some
that's
cases.
true.
Coming off the street, they get additional money, and I'm like, I got 20 years of education in my belt from working.
Yeah.
But Linda asks, how many teachers do we have that are in the school system that are on a provisional licenses? Quite a few. I'm not gonna dare state how many. I would have to go back and look through my emails to figure that one out. However, there might be somebody on listening that might be able to provide that information. I'm not sure how many there are. So what I've got a first one from Rachel Colby. Thank you for watching, Rachel. What are some things? I go to church with her, so
Okay.
and I work with her at National Life. What are some of the things going right now in our schools that that you would continue, or that you would continue to support what's happening? What are some good things that
Is there anything good? Is that what we're trying
Yeah.
to say? Well, something that's good that is it's like going away and it's just trickling through our fingers. It's our educators. The emails I'm getting, and I did put this on a Facebook post. Somebody messaged me and said one of the 500 reasons why I'm leaving is we're not being listened to. So we've got our best assets, our greatest resource, coming at us with solutions or ideas, stuff like that. We're not listening to them. And everybody's getting frustrated. Principals are leaving left and right. Those are hard positions to fill. And the teachers, when they leave, staff turnover, we know that costs a lot of money. And they're being replaced with people that, well, no one else applied. They've got this interest, but we're going to shove them into this role, or this one's just filling in while this one's out on leave, but that person decides not to come back because life's so much better out here. And then, so they put that person that was only meant to be a temporary fill into that position permanently. And, you know, their heart's not in it. I'm sorry, to be a teacher, your heart needs to be in it. And the kids just keep suffering. And I know I shared that story with you guys, and I won't share it on air, but, you know, that was pretty disheartening to have a teacher that didn't want to be there, and it showed, and it greatly affected my daughter. So the teachers that are speaking up and have things to say, they need to be listened to, and I don't feel they are, and they don't feel they are. So where is the money going? They've got the ideas. We're punting the money elsewhere. So.
Yeah. Do you have any questions, Raylene?
Gosh, I can think of a million things, but most of them I shouldn't say. So, most of mine surround the whole behavior issue because we have a lot of people contact us and want us to do shows. As you know, we have the bullying campaign with Connor happening right now. We know that we see a lot of that in the schools right now. And a lot of the messages that I get go back to behaviors and punishment and follow through with policies. And so I guess a big question that we could answer is what would you do to kind of help reiterate those policies and or would you keep them in place and just maybe act upon them a little more? That's what people want to know.
There is a lot of bullying. I think the policies need to be reviewed in depth, make sure that they still are timely with what's going on in our schools. I've had two of my daughters that called me from Spalding, either hiding in the library or hanging out in the bathroom because they were being bullied so bad, and they were begging me to come pick them up. And this went on for several weeks, 2 different years, interventions at the school with the current principal. Not the current principal, sorry, the principal at the time. Didn't get us anywhere. So why not? What was the policy at the time? The bullying continued. The parents here, you've done the kumbaya meeting with the group, and that's not working, and they're still doing it. What's the next step? And there was no next step. So my next step was, to threaten police involvement. And the only thing that came out of it was, my children dropping out of sports. So.
Right, and I think
I don't
that
know what
happens with
policy
a
it
lot
was,
of
but-
people that, and a lot of kids. It's the victims that are often stepping aside, and so that they don't have to deal with it anymore.
Right.
They're not in a situation.
Yeah,
And so
there should be zero tolerance for
we're-
that. Should be at the top of the policy. We have zero tolerance for bullying.
Yeah.
This is our definition of bullying, and if you fit into it, and I don't care even if it was my kid that fit in there, I'll be the first one at the school picking up my kid and kicking their butt the whole way home. Zero tolerance, but there just isn't that.
Yeah, there's no consequence.
Forcing the victim to sit at a table with the folks that have just made their life hell for weeks only made it worse. And maybe there's some psychological, backup for that of why that's a good thing, but it's not. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like we're bringing up all the negative. Again, 24 years, I had so few negative interactions. I mean, the statistics are pretty good, all things considering.
Unfortunately, I think that there are a lot of people that feel like we are in a really negative spot right now, and there needs to be some sort of hope that we're going to work towards getting out of that. I think a lot of people, administration, teachers, everybody as a whole, I believe feels that way. And a lot of people are just looking for a sense of hope that there's going to be a path forward, a way to move forward with, even if the budget weren't to pass, that really throwing money at these sorts of things isn't going to fix them anyways. This is something that has to be done.
Right. If the budget doesn't pass, we revert back to the current budget. So the school's not going to implode if it
Right.
doesn't pass. But we still have to fix the systemic problems. And if kids are coming home and saying, I'm being bullied, and the school's not doing anything about it, there's a big problem. And it needs to be held accountable right up through the top.
So I'll piggyback off on the comment. So if the budget fails, we get more than likely the board will revote the budget in May when the city does their voting. If it fails, then the school will probably do June. If it fails, then more than likely it would be like a 2-week warning period.
If it fails that many times, there's really some deep looking at that needs to happen.
Right. And what happens after, I think it's July 1st, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but once it goes into the next cycle, your budget's immediately cut down to 87% of what it was the previous year, which would be like really, that's like one of those times where you're like, oh, maybe we should like think about what we're doing here.
Right.
And, start, maybe going on a budget weight diet,
Yeah.
because that would definitely have a significant impact on school. Michael Deering says it's 80%. It probably is 80%.
I don't think it's going to come to that. I don't.
No. We never get that. Usually what happens is the voters, they say, hey, maybe you should do more than just say, yes, we'll take it. Everything. And we'll probably come back with like $300,000 off. And then, the voters might say, okay, well, thank you for the 300. We'll take that.
Yeah.
But it definitely, it could get really hairy. It's one of the reasons why I've always stated that never actively intend to fail a budget, which I kept on saying last year at that 1%. It's the reason why I don't say publicly whether or not to vote for a budget, because it can get into trouble. I will say, I always talk about the long-term weighted average daily membership versus actual per pupil spending, which is an act. I mean, it's cuckoo. But anyway, so I want to ask you about something that's really going to polarize people.
Uh-oh.
So I do apologize.
Oh,
you
boy.
will make a lot of enemies
Oh, jeez.
if you answer it a certain way, and you will make a lot of friends.
I'm just going
if
to
you
answer it the way I'm going to answer it. and
Exactly.
So be it.
Right.
It's something that the town is not very enthralled with, which is utilizing what Act 46 told us to do. Like Act 46 was the act that combined our schools. It was a cram down from the education department. Well, it was a cram down from the state, right? And the reason why is because education was too expensive. But when Act 46 went through, we merged. Well, we didn't actually merge our schools, which is where all the cost savings are, because you have like all the first graders in one school, all that stuff. What are your thoughts about merging the actual schools so that, like 1 through 4 goes to one school, 4 through 8 goes, or 5 through 8 goes to another school? what's your thoughts on that?
So in your hypothetical situation, what's the busing situation?
Yep, the busing. So Barre City buses and Barre Town buses. So it would just be
Because we're using the same buses right now,
correct. It would
and I still have to drive my daughter to Spalding.
correct. You would still have to drive your daughter
Yeah.
to Spalding. The busing situation, and everybody mentions the busing situation, but the difference of busing a kid from Richardson Road 5 feet above the Barre Town line and 5 feet below the Barre Town line, there's no difference because one goes to, it's maybe like a minute difference. One goes up Quarry Hill, one goes to the BC EMS, and they're both going just about the same distance. Barre Town's a little bit further, but if you live, let's say, somewhere in South Barre. Yeah, we'll say South Barre area. Just beyond there, you're going further to go to Barre Town Elementary School. So anyway, what's your thoughts about combining? Is that something that you would entertain, or?
Yeah,
So this will get
when
you
all
into
of this
trouble. I'm
started,
sorry.
I was actually on the Waits River Valley School Board, and there was all these proposals of which school were they going to merge with, and all the merging discussions. Again, it was a very pleasant experience, and everybody was very amicable. And then to come here and realize the merge happened, but not really, and it's affected me and my child obviously with the sports, not being able to play on combined sports teams. I don't know who I'm going to piss off here, but I don't see the actual benefit of doing that with the schools, because the modifications that would have to happen to make one of them only middle school when it's already set up with the kindergarten. I mean, we're talking a lot of money to modify schools. If this is going to be just the older kid school, what do you? I mean, I know what construction costs are, and materials and labor, and we're talking huge chunks of change. Where's this money coming from? Is that in the budget?
So, and I don't think, and I might be wrong, I don't think it would be a lot of money to do it, because both schools are already set up to have pre-K to
eighth grade.
Eighth grade anyway.
So you're talking moving all the little kids to one school and the older kids to the other. Older kids aren't going to want to go sit in the kindergarten rooms and the little kindergarten gyms
Correct.
and
There
the
would be
preschool
some-
playgrounds. And
Yeah, there would be some up costs at first.
it's quite a bit. It's going to be quite a bit.
Too.
I don't know.
I think so too.
My significant other, Ashley Johnson, is a contractor builder, so I'm very versed in cost.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So where's this money coming
and you
from?
can do like first graders go to this school, second graders go to this school, third graders go to this school. You can stagger them so it wouldn't be as,
So the
troublesome
whole
on that
the
level.
whole thing that they've done by the looping classrooms, you're in first grade and second grade with your same group of people, and your teacher moves up with you, then that kind of wouldn't really be able to happen.
No.
But
Because
is
that's
that a
actually been
good-
shown to be very beneficial, the looping. When that started, like kids really
Unless you got a
excelled.
kid that's not like in their teacher for 2 years.
Well, you can move them.
Saying.
Right.
You can move them. And it's Barre City was very good. There was nothing wrong with Mrs. Harvey, but poor Willie went through kindergarten when he went every day with his sister. So I wanted him to learn something different. So I very easily said, I want this teacher. And they're like, sure. I also then said, I don't want that teacher. I know about that teacher. I'd like my kid to be in this grade, different grade. I've never had a problem with the schools changing classrooms because of teachers. Some people just don't click.
I will say I would love to go back to where we had neighborhood schools. I think that's like far better,
Nice.
even though it's way more expensive.
It was, but it was an awesome way to grow up.
It really was.
See,
It
I
definitely
grew up in
was.
military, so it was a big melting pot. There certainly was no bullying because military, your father got involved. demoted and stuff. So there was no acting up, and there was such diversity and just a wonderful melting pot of everybody. So I learned a lot and had a great educational experience growing up because of that. So then you guys probably got a nice experience in your small little schools like that too, but I don't know. I think that the diverse education, and I learned like different ways to speak because of these folks came from everywhere. They're down south, other countries, things that you don't exactly get.
No, you don't get that in the local schools.
No,
Yeah.
definitely not. And
But
definitely not in
It was
little
nice to
Barre,
be able to
Vermont
walk to
either.
school.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you guys grew up with the same kids too. You've got
Right.
lifelong friendships. I
Right.
don't.
Yep, yep, true. Very true.
Yeah.
Nancy, I assume this is actually a question for me, so I'll answer it. It says, "How does the departure of the tech center figure into my plan?" I'm assuming that's regarding the merging of the schools. It's a very valid point. The tech center won't be there anymore. You could put 8th, 7th, and 6th graders in that area that was there, and you can have more space in the smaller two schools. So that's my plan, but we'll see how that goes.
Your evil plan.
My evil
Yeah.
plan. Shellie, thank you for coming in tonight. Really appreciate it.
Is it over?
Yeah.
We're pushing up against an hour,
All right.
and usually we stop torturing people at an hour.
Okay.
Torturing you, not our viewers. There, that's not what I meant by that. But no, we're really thankful. Everybody that checks out my page, they know where I stand. I think you're going to be a really good. You're a really good candidate. I think you would be a really good school board member. Well, I can work on you in the school merging thing.
We'd definitely be lucky to have her.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, what?
Definitely lucky to have her.
Yes,
Thank you.
I'm like super thankful that you decided to run. Like,
Thank you.
you have no idea how happy I am
Yeah.
that you decided to run.
Yeah. Wish you all the luck in the world.
Yes, absolutely. And I hope for those that's listening, those that are listening, come Tuesday, you'll be able to go to the Barre Auditorium and vote 7 a.m. to
Yep.
7 p.m. In Barre City. And if you're in
Right.
Barre Town, you go to, but you won't get to vote for Shellie, which is really sad. You should change your residency to Barre City. But
Gosh, Michael.
Barre Town, it's BTEMS.
Correct.
So the Barre Town School is where you would go. And
Get out and vote.
And you
Absolutely.
get out and vote, and let's tell them before we have to go. Let's tell them why vote Shellie Stevens.
yes.
100%. My heart is in it. I have a vested interest in this community, the students, the teachers. As a taxpayer, I have a vested interest in my taxes. And I do listen to what people say, and I do want to bring everybody's concerns to the forefront and work on solutions. I am a problem solver, and that's what I want to help with now.
Right.
Because we have some problems.
We do. We definitely do. Thank you. I appreciate you coming. If you ever want to come on the Barre Beat, you're more than welcome to come.
Absolutely.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Anytime you want. And that we have that open door for almost everybody. Almost everybody. Almost.
Let it go, Michael. Let it go.
Anyway, we appreciate you coming on, and again, hope folks come and vote for you on Tuesday. And with that, good
Thank
night,
you.
and good night to our viewers. Thank you for
Yes.
watching the
Thank you.
Barre Beat podcast live from Main Street, Barre, Vermont. Fly in the Wall Productions.